Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Pi Records, and I'm here with Rick from the Volcanoes. How are you, Rick?
I am good. Nice to be here.
Good. First introduce yourself and what instrument you play and how your part fits into the Volcanoes.
Okay. Well, I'm Rick Mills. I am one of the guitar players in the Volcanoes. Um, the other guitar player is Chris Flanagan, and we do we're not strict lead rhythm roles. We trade off between songs usually. We'll switch off on one guy. I'll take the first verse. I'll take the second verse. That kind of thing. So it's a real kind of orchestrated interplay between the guitars.
Awesome, awesome. Now, with the extensive catalog that you have, you've been around a long time. You want to talk about the inception of your band?
Yeah, sure. Well, Chris and I had been in a band called the Zombie Surfers that had started in the early 80s. And it was mostly surf covers. We did come up with a few originals after a while, but so that's kind of where our love of surf started. Um, and so then early 90s or mid 90s, we thought, well, let's try a two guitar surf band, and that's kind of where it started. And we just that in that we did do some covers originally, but we started writing songs at that point, and you know, and now that's the bulk of what we do are our originals.
Awesome. So being in Detroit, you're kind of like in the center. How far out east or west do you guys travel to play?
Well, we don't do any major tours or anything. I mean, we've done Chicago, uh, Cleveland. I think we've gone out to Pittsburgh. I'm in several bands, so it's hard to me to keep track of who went where sometimes. We did the biggest thing we did. We drove in '97. We drove out to Bellingham, Washington, to play at Garage Shock, and did a few shows along the way there, Salt Lake City and Missoula. And so that was probably our biggest road trip, which was a blast.
Now, I saw on your Facebook page, unfortunately, the 2020 SG 101 convention was canceled, but you were supposed to play that convention. Are you still connected with Jeff and
Sure. I've been in touch with Jeff, and we're up for the option of doing it at some point in the future. I mean, it was COVID that shut it down for us, and we
yeah?
had been playing it safe. We have been playing it safe. I'm just starting to loosen the controls a little myself. So hopefully in the near future we'll be up for doing that.
During the lockdown, a lot of people, a lot of surf bands in particular, took that time to write and or record music. Did you take advantage of that?
No, no, we didn't. Um, no, we did. We played a few outdoor things during that time, but I mean, there's been a handful of songs that have popped up, in recent years, but not a lot of extensive writing or any recording.
Uh, I saw some references to obviously volcanoes in your titles, but
All
also
right. Mhm.
kind of like hot rod.
Yeah,
Tell
yeah,
me a little bit about the hot rod culture that kind of influences your music.
sure. Well, for me, when we were first getting into surf and back in the Zombie Surfers days, to me, my view of it was that they were tied together. There was surf albums, there were hot rod albums, and they sounded pretty much the same. So to me, it was they just kind of were the same animal pretty much. So
Okay. And I saw on your Facebook page there was kind of like one of the gentlemen in your band played kind of a rockabilly tune. Um, so does that kind of like fall like for our listeners? Does that kind of fall into the inspiration for your band?
Um, hmm, not really a lot of rockabilly influence here. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Oh, I saw somebody singing on your Facebook page.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd have to see what that was. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't comment on that.
Oh, okay. So another place people can find your music, which I find very interesting, and maybe you can speak to it, is you have a MySpace page, which
We do still?
yeah,
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and I haven't been there in years, so that's just kind of a
like
relic.
that was huge about 15 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Like I used to find so many great bands on there,
Mhm.
and that was like a hot spot for a lot of musicians to
Sure, sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's where we started on the internet.
so
Well, basically, yeah,
how did that help
dominated the
you?
market. It helped get us some exposure, I guess. I don't remember specific incidents of it, but I'm sure it helped get our stuff out there to people who otherwise wouldn't have heard it.
Are you playing any shows right now or rehearsing?
We just played a couple weeks ago in Mount Clemens, which is near Detroit. No, nothing booked right now. We usually don't rehearse unless we have a show or a recording session. So uh, we're kind of dormant at this point.
Okay. Okay. Would you like to tell me about some of the other members in your band?
Sure, sure. Well, I
Y-
mentioned Chris, the other guitar player, and
Yeah.
we're kind of just like co guitars, and drummer is Bill Bowen, who is amazing, just an energy ball and got a great natural rhythm. On bass, we have a longtime friend of Chris and mine, Mark Brainerd, who took over from original bass player Dave Fergali, who just had to step down at one point, and Mark came in and took over on the bass for us.
There's in the photos and videos I saw, it just seems like the energy on stage is like just a very joyous. Is that how you could describe your experience?
Sure, sure. We're out to have a good time and have fun, and try and send that out to the audience. We usually play with a lot of energy, a lot of it fueled by drummer Bill, who I mentioned. Um, but yeah, we're out to have a good time and make some people smile.
Awesome. Awesome. Are there I know you're kind of connected. You have to be with the Chicago scene. Like you said, you played there, but they have a great instrumental scene there. What are some of the bands you might have played with there?
Oh, we played at what was it called? It was some kind of tiki event there a while ago, and I think the Moonrays played.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, we are the other band we know is the I'm drawing a blank now. I'm sorry, guys. What is their name? Oh, jeez, I'm sorry. Phil Tiki, I know, is one of the members in the band.
Oh, 13 Tikis.
That's one of his bands, but there was an earlier band that he was in. Oh boy, got me at a loss here. But so that mystery band was another band that we're familiar with in Chicago.
what what would you say is the thing that started? Usually, when you're growing up, you sometimes pick up music from friends and family.
Mhm.
What kind of sparked your interest in surf music when you were young?
One memory I've got is I remember hearing on the radio. It was some kind of a commercial for like a local parks department, but it had "Walk Don't Run" in the background, and my ear just immediately clicked onto that. What's going on there? That's pretty cool. And then "Wipeout" is one of the earliest songs that I remember hearing that on the radio. So those were two of my early inspirations for getting into surf music.
Now, Wipeout is I imagine any band that you're in, any genre, especially when I was growing up, I was in a punk band, and any band can translate that song into a different genre. It's just that catchy.
Sure, I can see that. I can see that working in other genres, definitely.
Um, so as far as gear, what sort of things do you prefer? I'm sure you may interchange some different styles.
All right, now we're getting to the meat of the surf sound. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I originally started, I had a 73 Stratocaster that I used to record the first two albums with and the first couple singles. Back then I was using a twin reverb, a black bass twin reverb. Um, I I sold the Strat and got a Japanese jazz master, like a mid or late 90s Japanese jazz master. I put Duncan vintage pickups in it. Uh, and I also got a bandmaster, a black bass bandmaster,
Ah,
and a reissue reverb, one of the 63 reissue reverb tanks. So that's been kind of my main rig. A little later, I picked up a Hallmark Swept-Wing that I also use in the Volcano. So those are my two axes for the Volcanoes: is the Jazzmaster and the Swept-Wing.
the Hallmark, is that the blue guitar on your page?
No, no, it's black. It's a black Swept-Wing.
Okay. Uh,
Now,
so do you know when those 63 reissues stopped being made?
oh boy, no, I couldn't tell you.
Because those were like going up like hotcakes, and then all of a sudden they were gone.
Amazing how pricey those are. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you had to compare your reverb tank to a pedal, what would you say the main difference is?
You know, I don't have really any experience with reverb pedals. So I couldn't really compare. I could only compare it to the twin reverb, which has the, onboard reverb or whatever you call it.
Yeah,
And it has a different character for sure. I don't
like a
know how
like a
to
splash.
describe it. Yeah, and just something about having the reverb before it gets into the amp
Oh,
seems to affect the way it sounds overall. I mean, they're close, they're really close, but um, I think that tank just has a little closer to that real vintage sound. Plus, you can kick it and make things blow up. So that's a, that's a bonus.
so what are your plans right now? I know most of us are back to work and getting our routines back to
Right.
before 2019,
I
and
do. Mhm.
so as far as the band goes, you guys must have been really itching to get playing again.
Yeah, yeah. For sure, for sure. But like I mentioned, I'm in several bands, so I kind of spread myself out between them, and look for opportunities that fit each band. So right now there aren't any immediate plans to get the Volcanoes moving toward anything, unless an opportunity comes up for a show or something.
What are some of the other bands you're in, and what kind of genre is it?
The longest running band I'm in is the 3D Invisibles. Chris and Bill and I are all in that. Bill is not the original drummer, but he came in, I think sometime in the 90s or late 80s. And that's like a horror punk band, definitely with pop influences. My background for music was growing up with the Beatles and AM pop radio. So I think I've got just that pop sensibility comes into everything I do. So there's that, and it's like a horror theme, so we wear makeup and costumes and stuff, and that's a lot of fun. Our most recent band, Chris and I have a band called the Flipsters, which is kind of like garage, maybe a little British Invasion, just kind of a 60s, band. We've had others in the past. We had a band called the Hellbenders for a while that was like spaghetti western, instrumental and mixed with like gunfighter songs. And that was a lot of fun, and a lot of people seem to like that. We've got a lot of good responses from that.
Yeah. Well, why do you think those old Italian movies translated into the surf sound?
Well, they had that guitar. It was the 60s, and they were using guitar in it. And it's great. They're great melodies, so they could translate to anything. I just became a huge fan of the genre when we started the band and really got into it. Yeah, it's just great music, I guess.
Who is your favorite composer?
Oh, Morricone, huh?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so is there anything else you'd like to add or that I may not have asked about that you think would be great for the viewers?
In regard to the volcanoes, boy, no, no, not really. I mean, I think hopefully the music speaks for itself. You know, I was originally trying to do something that sounded like it sounded like the 60s. It sounded like the original surf period, but were new songs. It didn't it didn't completely end up that way just because of um, my musical background. I put things in the songs that wouldn't have been there back in 63. Um, but to me, that's all the better. It makes it unique and for our things without straying too much from the genre at all.
Uh you got some great artwork. Can you tell me a little bit about who does your artwork?
Well, on the Esdras albums, that was Archie Chantry, in combination with Bill Bowen, who's a great graphic artist. They worked together on those.
Okay, great. Great.
And art is just amazing. I'm a big fan of his work.
Yeah. And especially when you get it on vinyl, it's really
And it's big, yeah.
it's really big and like you can just kind of hold it up close. I'm a big fan of vinyl.
Yep.
So I want to thank you, Rick.
Okay.
I enjoyed talking to you. I really enjoyed listening to your music, and you seem to have your life surrounded by music, and that makes me happy for you.
All right. It is a big part of my life. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Thank you so much.